Have you subscribed to my channel yet? Subscribe, it's important to me. Tom and Rachel had been married for 17 years. They had what seemed like the perfect life. Both were successful in their careers. Tom, a senior partner at a law firm, and Rachel, a marketing director for a well-known company. They had two wonderful children, Josh, 14, and Ella, 11. They lived in a spacious house with a garden, a pool, and everything else that came with a comfortable suburban life. Tom was 7 years older than Rachel, and while some joked about the age gap, it never seemed to be an issue. They trusted each other completely, or so Tom thought. They were the type of couple who threw big parties for birthdays, holidays, and just because they loved having their friends around. So when Rachel's 40th birthday was approaching, they planned to go all out. They invited everyone, friends from both sides, neighbors, and even a few of Rachel's colleagues. It was going to be a barbecue extravaganza with an impressive collection of high-end alcohol that Tom had been building for years. The night was perfect. Laughter filled the air, the barbecue was sizzling, and drinks were flowing freely. People mingled, shared stories, and opened up about life, love, and even some embarrassingly funny moments from the past. Someone, Tom couldn't remember who, ended up fully clothed in the pool. Much to everyone's amusement, there was lighthearted teasing, a few games, and even some off-the-cuff karaoke attempts. Rachel had always been the life of the party, and tonight was no different. Her friends adored her, and Tom loved watching her shine. He knew that Rachel had a way of making people feel comfortable, of turning strangers into friends within minutes. It was one of the many reasons he had fallen in love with her all those years ago. The party stretched late into the night, but eventually people started to leave. Tom, a bit tipsy, hugged everyone goodbye and went to bed, leaving Rachel to chat with a few lingering friends. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary until the next morning. Tom woke up with a slight headache, but in good spirits, reflecting on the success of the party. That is, until he received a voice message from an unknown number. He opened the message and played the audio. At first, it was hard to make out what was being said. There was a lot of background noise, laughter, and chatter, but then Rachel's voice became clear. She was talking to someone, her tone casual, slightly slurred from the alcohol, and she was saying things Tom never expected to hear. "I only cheated once, and it was years ago," Rachel's voice said, followed by a laugh. "It lasted for about a year, but honestly, it didn't mean anything. I mean, it was great while it lasted, but, I just moved on. Tom never found out, and I don't regret it." Tom froze. The laughter in the background continued, and Rachel kept talking. She described the man, going into detail about things Tom didn't want to hear, things he couldn't stomach. He felt sick, his hands trembling as he replayed the message several times, hoping he had misunderstood. But each time, it was the same. She wasn't upset about it. She wasn't sorry. In fact, she laughed. Tom poured himself a glass of whiskey, something he usually reserved for celebrations, and downed it in one go. The alcohol burned, but it didn't take away the pain. He sat at the kitchen counter, staring into space, trying to make sense of it all. How did this happen? How had he been so blind? Why did he have to know this now, after 17 years of marriage? And what was worse, Edie, Rachel's friend, the one she was talking to on the recording, wasn't trustworthy. She was the type who loved gossip and drama, the type who wouldn't keep this quiet. This wasn't just going to stay between them. It would spread. It would humiliate him. For the next hour, Tom sat there thinking, processing, replaying the message over and over. Each time he heard her laugh about it, his heart broke a little more. Without saying a word, Tom got up, grabbed his suitcase from the closet, and started packing. He didn't want to confront Rachel. Not yet. Maybe not ever. What was there to say? She had moved on from it years ago, but for him, it was fresh, like a wound that had just been opened. By the time Rachel came downstairs, Tom had already packed most of his things. She looked confused. "What's going on?" she asked, noticing the suitcase. Tom didn't even look up. He zipped up the suitcase and headed for the door. "Tom, what are you doing?" Rachel's voice was edged with panic now. Tom stopped at the doorway and turned around. "I got a message this morning from one of your friends. They recorded you last night." Rachel's face went pale. "W, what are you talking about?" "I heard everything. About the affair. About how it lasted a year. About how you laughed about it." His voice was flat, emotionless. "I don't want to hear your excuses. I don't want to know why. I can't live with this." "Tom, wait." Rachel rushed toward him, her eyes wide with fear. "It was a long time ago. It meant nothing, I swear. I was drunk last night. I didn't mean what I said." "Didn't mean it?" Tom finally looked at her, his eyes cold. "You didn't mean that it lasted a year, or that I never found out, or that you don't regret it? Which part, exactly, did you mean?" Rachel stammered, trying to find the right words. "I was stupid. I don't know why I did it, but it's over now. It's been over for years. I love you, Tom. Please don't do this. Don't leave. He looked at her for a long moment, feeling like he was staring at a stranger. I don't know who you are anymore. Rachel's tears started to fall. Tom, think about the kids, please. Tom paused, his face softening for a second. Then he shook his head. I am thinking about them, and about what kind of example this sets for them. Without another word, he turned and walked out the door, leaving Rachel standing there sobbing. He didn't know what was going to happen next, but he knew one thing for sure. His life was never going to be the same again. Months later, Tom had moved into an apartment downtown. He kept things civil for the kids, arranging joint custody with Rachel, but their marriage was over. Despite her pleas, despite the countless messages and phone calls, Tom never went back. He couldn't. The trust was shattered beyond repair. Rachel's confession had spread through their circle of friends, just as Tom feared. The whispers, the awkward looks, the strained conversations, it all became too much for her. She eventually left her job and moved to another city with the kids. Tom stayed behind, rebuilding his life one day at a time. The pain of betrayal still lingered, but he had learned to live with it. He had learned to move forward. And as he sat in his new apartment, watching the sun set, he realized that some things, once broken, could never truly be fixed. Reader comments. Sarah P. Wow, this hit home. The way trust can be broken so casually, yet the pain it leaves behind is unbearable. Tom's reaction felt so real. Sometimes there are no big confrontations, just the quiet exit. My heart breaks for the kids in this situation, though. John T. The way Tom handled this was very mature. A lot of men would have lashed out, but he kept his composure and just walked away. Sometimes that's the hardest thing to do. It takes real strength to know when it's time to leave a broken situation. Monica W. Rachel's lack of remorse is the most shocking part to me. The fact that she could laugh about her affair after so many years says a lot about her character. I think Tom did the right thing in walking away, even though it must have been incredibly painful. Chris M., as someone who went through a similar experience, this story really resonated with me. The betrayal, the way the truth comes out when you least expect it, it's devastating. But Tom handled it in a way that I wish I had. Calm, collected, and with dignity. Emma L., I can't believe Rachel thought she could laugh this off and everything would be fine. The moment Tom found out, their marriage was doomed. Once trust is gone, it's so hard to rebuild, especially when one partner isn't even sorry. Alex G. Tom's decision to leave was the right one. It's one thing to forgive a mistake, but Rachel's casual attitude towards something so serious showed she wasn't really invested in the marriage anymore. He deserves better than that. Katie J. This is such a heartbreaking story, but it shows how strong Tom is. His quiet departure was more powerful than any argument could have been. I hope he finds peace and happiness after this.